A lot of people have told me before that I take things personally, okay? And I'm sure, I'm certain actually, that someone has told you the same thing. You take things personally, man. You take things to heart. It's not about you. I'm sure we all heard this, and and as for myself, I was very confused as, what does that even mean, you know? If someone is talking about me, they're talking about me, so I have to take it personally, right? Well, no. If I will share with you now the reasoning of how to not take things personally. And if you apply this thing to what everyone tells you, you'll be immune to it. Bulletproof. Okay? So let's begin. You know when you're walking and you bump into someone while you're walking and they say, "Are you blind?" or something. You take that to heart, right? You internalize it. You take that as a personal attack towards yourself, towards your personality, towards your character, right? That is what taking things personally mean. When you hear maybe you're in a conference with colleagues, and then you're saying your point in this meeting, and then your other colleague, they talk over you and they continue the meeting. And you're like, well, I was talking, wasn't I? And now I'm going to give you the golden statement. People's reactions often reflect their own issues. Their own issues. Okay, I'll say that again. People's reactions, the way they react, the way they talk to you, okay, often or almost always reflects their own issues, their own problems, their own trauma, their own upbringing. Wait, there's a lot of things into play here when someone tells me something. Yes, exactly. So what does that mean? How does that make sense? Let me explain. Let's all imagine a person named X, okay? And X, whoever criticizes him, he will produce anger. Okay? So, whether it's their boss, whether it's their spouse, whether it's their friend, anyone who tells X that, or they criticize him, X will produce an anger response. So now let's assume that X is at work, okay? And his boss comes in and he tells him, "What is this work? This is not good, this is not acceptable." And he criticizes X. What does X do? We know X. He's gonna produce an anger response. So he gets very mad at his boss and he says, "Why are you talking to me like this? Who do you think you are?" So now, should the boss, in your opinion, take that personally? Meaning, should he say to himself, "Am I a bad boss? You know, what he said to me was very harmful." But when you actually think of it, if 100 people told X the same thing, X will produce an anger response. So where is the issue? Is it with X or is it with the boss? It's with X. X has his own problems, he has his own issues, he has his own trauma. And whoever tells him something, he'll produce that same response. So why are you feeling offended when someone tells you something? Do you see my point? So if you're on the street and let's say you're walking, and you hit a stranger, okay, and that stranger goes around and is like, "What's wrong with you? Can't you see?" And you take that personally, you tell yourself that if this stranger hits us, it hits 100 other strangers, this stranger will produce the same reaction. So why are you taking offense to that? Why are you taking it personally? This is what it means. Now, I'm not saying that if someone is rude to you or harsh to you, you shouldn't respond because it's not about you. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying how to detach from it, how to not let it bother you anymore. Because let's say, for example, I'm going to give you a personal example of mine, okay? So I was in the car with my brother. I got off the car, and it was on a street, and the car behind us, it started to honk the car, oh, toot, 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 toot. And I turned around, and I saw the guy, he was so mad. I don't know why, we didn't do anything. He dropped me off. And he started doing this, "Oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" And this is what not taking it personally means. If 100 cars did the same thing that we and my brother did, he will produce the same response. That guy is in a horrible mood for whatever reason, I don't know why, or he's having his own issues. So even if he screams at me, he's not screaming at me, okay? Because I didn't give him that mood. Does that make sense? Let's say that I'm doing YouTube and someone comments below and they say something very harsh. What's wrong with this guy or whatever? Should I take that personally? No. Why? Because this viewer, if he sees a YouTuber with certain characteristics he will produce a certain response. And it happens that I have those characteristics, so he will attack me. Okay, does that make sense? So it's not about me, is it? It reflects his own insecurities, his own problems. So should I take offense to that? No, of course not. Why? Because it's not about me. This is what not taking it personally means. And it's so liberating when you think like that. Because if anyone tells you something, yeah, you go back and you say, well, this isn't about me. Even if people talk about you in front of your face, this still isn't about me. They have their insecurities. They have their trauma. And therefore, whatever they say, it's ultimately not about me. Let me just give you one more example. Let's say you're working as a doctor, right? And you're giving a medication. And while you're giving this medication, even though it's in the best interest of the patient, they scream at you and they say, what's wrong with you? Why did you do this? And, and every other doctor would do the same thing that you did. So this patient, you tell yourself, they're not attacking me. They're attacking my name tag that says DR on it. They're attacking my scrubs. Does that make sense? It's so liberating, man. I cannot stress this enough. If anyone tells you something, it reflects their own problems, whatever they're going through, whatever their insecurities are, right? They're all like X. So why should you take offense for something that this person will say the same thing to 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, okay? Here is where the fine line is. Unless someone takes you, okay, and they specifically sit you down, and they say, look, like in a relationship, for example, and they say, look, I have a problem when you do this. I don't like when you do this. Or when let's say you're at school and they say, you shouldn't do this, this is unprofessional, or you're at work, for example, anything. If they sit you down and they say, we've analyzed your behavior and this thing is not meeting certain standards, even if it's a relationship or, whatever, this is where you should say, okay, I need to approach this with maturity and see how we can tackle this problem. This way, you don't take things personally, and when someone tells you something, you don't attack them. You go back and you say, let me think about it, let me see if you're right, and I'll come back to you. So I hope you guys use this strategy of whoever attacks you, even if it's your family member, right? It often reflects their own issues, okay? So it's not about you. This is what not taking things personally mean. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit the like button to help me and my journey on YouTube. And as always, Assalamu alaikum.